You did a Reddit AMA, I think, and you said that art saved your life.
Yes. Oh my God. You actually, wow. I love you. You've done homework. Yes, I
Oh,
did a
thank you.
Reddit AMA. It was something that was recommended that I do, and I personally myself, as an artist and as an entrepreneur, which I'll talk about that in a minute because I think it's important. I think it's important to constantly push my boundaries and my comfort zone and my parameters, expand my horizons, see what's out there. So I did this AMA on Reddit, and I did say that art did save my life because it did. Um, that's a long story. That's a longer answer, but I'm happy to talk about it.
Can you do a Reader's Digest version?
The
Or...
Reader's Digest version, boy, we're going to dive right in.
That's really,
Okay.
I'm not giving away my age there, sorry.
The Reader's Digest version. Okay. So the Reader's Digest version, I zigged when I should have zagged, and I got caught up in this kind of new age doomsday cult, and took about 20 years out of my life. Yeah, wow, exactly,
Wow.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So by all means, I shouldn't. Well, by many parameters, definitions, etc., I shouldn't be able to be like doing as well as I can. But that's, I've been working at things. So why did we get on that question? Oh, the AMA art saved my life. So in that process of getting myself out of that cult and the brainwashing, the mind control, whatever you want to call it, that goes with it, I always wanted to be a performer. I always loved the arts, singing, dancing, acting, writing, playing music, all of it. I loved it, but I just didn't get the support that I needed to keep pursuing that. And then, there are other things that happen in life along the way. And so I just went full bore into acting. And, you work it out in an acting class. It's a safe space. Hopefully, sometimes it's not, and you've got to look out for that. But it encourages and enables the person, the individual, to be able to explore, some dark territories, some dark emotions, some taboo emotions, some dangerous places emotionally, some weird places, whatever it may be, and subsequently that helped me in ways that I didn't even really understand. I didn't go there and go, well, it's going to be therapy for me or whatever, but it certainly was the case for me. And yeah, man, it did. It saved my life. It really did. Yeah.
So without going too much into the cold,
Yes.
did you have another career that you were doing before?
I did. I was, yeah, I guess I've kind of always had an entrepreneurial spirit ever since I was a little boy. I asked my dad if I could use the lawnmower when I was, I don't know, I was like 7 or 8 years old, and he looked at me, he's like, why? I says, well, I want to go mow some lawns. And he just kind of smiled and he goes, okay. And so I just went down the street and started knocking on my neighbors' doors. Hey, I'll mow your lawn for you. Didn't have a price or anything in mind. I was just like the kindness of people. And I'd go out there and mow the lawn and rake it up and put it in plastic bags. And I was 7 or 8 years old. I thought I saw that's how my father did it, and that's how you're supposed to do it. That's how it was done. And invariably, everybody would be staring out their windows just watching this young kid like working, and they was, you're so diligent. I didn't know what that meant. You're so thorough. This is great. And they would give me $5 and $10, which, back in those days was a lot of money. And it became quickly apparent to me that, this was something I liked to do. I enjoyed every aspect of it. The hustle, the drive to go out and knock, you have to create something, and then follow through and provide the service and do a good job and make the customer happy. And hopefully they'll tell somebody else and you can come back again. This was way more fun than going and saying, hey, can I scoop ice cream? And there's not that there's anything wrong with that, but for me, the way I was wired, that's always been what I did. So yeah, I've owned and operated several businesses, most of them not successfully, but that's where you learn. You fall down flat on your face and lose money, just screw the pooch in any number of ways, and that didn't work. I won't do that again. And then you start to learn, oh, well, that worked. I'll do more of that. I'll just keep doing that. And yeah, That's been what I've done. So at that time, I'd had we started ironically in that cult, we started a painting business, and we were kind of struggling, and then threw out the idea that maybe we should go after the affluent market, where people who have a lot of money and they don't necessarily worry about price so much as they do the quality of the work and you not being a pain in their backside. And so we started to go after the big name designers. This was in New York City at the time, in the 80s. And yeah, we got a couple of designers gave us a break, and we got a chance to do like one bedroom for, I'm not going to start naming names, but for some very affluent clients. And they liked it, and word started to spread. And within a year, we had more work than we could handle. And we were booked out, months in advance. And, our whole thing was doing a great job. Like doing a job that they didn't expect, going above and beyond. And like I said, I learned this from when I was like 8 years old. So, I showed up at this one very wealthy woman's apartment. She owned like the entire, I don't know, it was like the 10th floor of a very well-known building in the Upper West Side. And I walked in, and this was the gig, man. I knew what to do. I knew from all these trial and error that she wanted her place to look pristine. And you walked in and it was gorgeous. It was absolutely beautiful. Not my style, but tasteful, elegant, beautiful. And we're going to repaint the place. So I walked in with a disposable camera, took pictures all around the room, and the entire apartment. And I asked the maid, or the housekeeper, asked the housekeeper if I could be excused. I needed to go develop the film. And she looked at me like, what? And she said, well, let me go ask Mrs. And I said, okay. And so I did, and they gave me the blessing, and I went down to the hour film developing. I came back and I put everything all the pictures inside of a photo album. And they're watching me out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, I got them. and it was method to my madness, but it was also, I wanted to let them know they could just start to relax, and that tension in their shoulders could start to dissipate. And then I got the other guys that were with me, and we started to just mask off the floor with, first we put down sisal paper, they call it brown kind of absorbent paper, and we taped off every square inch of the floor, right? And then we put plastic over that, and we put another layer of drop cloths over that, like the floor wasn't going to get damaged. And they're just looking at me out of the corner like, who the hell is what's very good, very good. So anyway, I don't know why we're talking about that, but yeah, that was the level of work that we did, and we did well. We did well with it.
But at some point you decided that, sorry.
There was a lot of insanity going on, as I said, because that was the business and that was the face of, that was our business, but then like the insanity of that group was always an undercurrent all the time. And like, that's a whole other story. I mean, we could talk about that for hours, but yes.
But at some point you said, you know what, I want to try this acting thing.
I always did, and I kind of dabbled in it from a distance, but I was really, honestly, I was just petrified to do it. I was afraid to put myself, on camera. First time you see yourself on camera, I think this goes for pretty much everyone. Just, oh my God, you just start beating yourself up, which doesn't do anybody any good, right? But it's shocking the first time you hear your voice and you see yourself on camera and how you do things and how you say things and etc. So I really went all in, and I got really lucky right away and got my Screen Actors Guild card with pretty much my first audition.
Wow.
I know. That rarely, if ever, happens. Was on a show that used to be shot down in San Diego with Stu Siegel Productions. Stu's a great guy. Had studios set up down there, and he did a show called Silk Stockings.
Yes.
18 Wheels of Justice. What was the other one? Wings of Gold, something. I can't remember the other one. But yeah, he shot those shows down there. And I got my first gig working with Rob Estes and Mindy, I forgot Mindy's last name. Sorry, Mindy. Really great actors, great people on Silk Stockings. Yeah.
So then how was it for, because you're living off that high and maybe the paycheck of the job, but then the weird part is then, whoo, then it comes down, and now you're drumming up work, and now that clock is ticking for the first of the month.
You know what's interesting about that? You're right. You're right. That occurred, and I had a bunch of crazy notions in my head about, what acting was and what, what would happen, all these crazy ideas of celebrity and money and stardom and stuff. That wasn't what I was aiming for. But the funny thing was, you just hit the nail on the head. If you're going to succeed in this business, whatever, if you're going to be writing, directing, producing, acting, singing, dancing, whatever it is, whatever aspect, it's contingent upon your ability to keep picking up the phone, keep sending the emails, following up, going to networking events or going to meetings or whatever. You got to get out there and start to circulate and nurture relationships. And I did that in business. But for whatever reason, when I got into acting, I was just like, hi, I'm here. And I'm not sure why I did that. The only thing I can think the reason that I may have done that was because it was so therapeutic in so many ways. There was less judgment in the beginning stages, at least through these eyes there were. When you're in an acting class, like, it was a very forgiving space largely. And that was like, holy this is, my heart just like started to open up. This is fantastic. And you could get weird, like I said, you could get funny, you could get serious, you could get loud, you could get ugly, whatever, right? Tender, powerful, whatever it may be. And I think I needed that. Clearly I needed that. And I turned off the business part of my brain. And I wish I hadn't, but everyone's path is different. That's not the case these days, but it certainly was in the beginning.
You said something interesting. You said that in the beginning it was a safe space and that people were encouraging, or you just felt like accepted. Do you think as you rise in the ranks that changes?
Yeah, it can, of course. I mean, that's very kind of naive on my part, and it's also accurate. You can't create a performance in a place where you don't feel safe. And this isn't anything that no one's heard a million times. You got to feel comfortable and safe with your director, with the crew members, with producers, with a screenwriter, with whoever it is. You got to feel that we're all in this together and we're trying to create something. But as necessarily as you start working on bigger and bigger projects, you're stepping into a business. And if they're successful ones, if they've been around a long time, they're a well-oiled machine. And you're just there to move a storyline along, or you're there to play, whatever X factor is in that story, in that script, in the parameters of that show and those characters in that world. And, if you forget that, not a resourceful move. So, but I think that, it still can be a safe space. But of course, then, it's commerce. You're in business. So you have to factor that in. I believe that doesn't happen often enough with a lot of actors. Well, to be fair, actors take a beating all the time because they think like talking and moving background. Some guy said one time. I looked and I was like, really? Wow, that's amazing that you feel comfortable enough to say that to me. What was your name again? I didn't catch it, right? But too often actors, I have seen too often that they will not embrace business aspect. But as I said, to be fair, I see writers doing the same thing. I see directors doing the same thing. I see some producers doing the same thing, which seems counterintuitive, but It happens. I've seen it happen. They don't take the business aspect into play enough. It is called show business, and really, they should probably call it the business of show, because if you want to create or perform whatever your art is, whatever your instrument, your vehicle is for expressing your artistry, I mean, you can do it on any street corner, right? But if we're here in Hollywood, then necessarily you are looking to make a mark, make a statement, and be paid for it. And that's great. But if you're going to do that, then you need to understand how businesses work.